Welcome back to the channel of Crafty Traveler. Last episode, we woke up to snow on May the 18th. Great sand dunes, Oasis campground, snow on the trail around the truck. We took Snickers for a walk in the snow and he made a yellow snowball. And we had a power outage. So Ernie and I played a little game of Yahtzee. In this episode, we get to go to Great Sand Dunes National Park, watch the snow melt off the sand dunes, and watch some crazy people try and cross a cold creek. Stay tuned for more. Pictures of the white sand dunes, snowy sand dunes. Okay, 12:45. We're finally going to drive down to Great Sand Dunes National Park. Get out of the RV park. People have left. The roads have opened, and people have left. This morning it was quite full. This campground is Great Sand Dunes Oasis RV Resort, and it's just a few miles from the Great Sand Dunes National Park. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll try and remember to post it above, and for sure I will post it at the end of this video. Gravel road. Does that mean the gravel is slow? Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve is an American national park that conserves an area of large sand dunes up to 750 feet tall on the east edge of the San Luis Valley and adjacent national preserve in the Sangre de Cristo Range in south central Colorado. The park was originally designated Great Sand Dunes National Monument on March 17, 1932 by President Herbert Hoover. The original boundaries protected an area of 35,528 acres. A boundary change and redesignation as a national park and preserve was authorized on November 22, 2000, and then established on September 24, 2004. The park encompasses 107,342 acres, while the preserve protects an additional 41,686 acres. When I looked up the website and it showed what to expect in different months of the year, it said that in late May, the average peak of Mendano Creek flows, but it is still springtime and winds may arise, especially in the afternoon. May temperatures are generally moderate with highs in the 60s and 70s. Well, we got snow, as you can see by the video. And they said, however, snow is possible at this elevation. Trees and bushes along the park is open year-round, and there are no reservations to visit or limit on the number of visitors in the park and the preserve. But when we were there was a current limit capacity to the visitor center, and everyone had to wear masks. The tallest dunes in North America are the centerpiece of the diverse landscape of grasslands, wetlands, forest, alpines at Great Sand Dunes National Park. Now we're going to be going into the visitor center, or rather I went into the visitor center. Ernie stayed out in the truck with Snickers and took him for another walk in the snow. When I was there in May, they only allowed 6 people in the visitor center at any one time. Luckily, there were only a few when I was there, and I was able to enter fairly quickly. They have the typical visitor center items: cards, postcards, pins, patches, books, clothing. One display I did see that was interesting was this display of skulls from the different animals in the area. Asked one of the ladies that worked there, I said, "This is very unusual." She goes, "Yes, for May, it is quite unusual to have snow on the dunes in this time in May." This is the picnic area.
And it's the dunes.
Okay, no.
There's only one dunes parking lot.
Yeah. Our next stop was to the picnic area and dunes parking lot, where one can walk out to the dunes. And as you walk out to the dunes, there is a creek. And at different times of the year, it's at higher level than other times of the year. It was probably 4 to 6 inches deep when we were there. There are some people that just have to cross it no matter what. This is the creek bed, and it is wider, deeper, and there are the snowy sand dunes. The origins of the dunes come from wind and water moving sand continually, forming the dunes. Most sand comes from the San Juan Mountains over 65 miles to the west. Larger, rougher grains and pebbles come from the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Sand and sediments from both ranges wash into the huge lake once covering the valley floor. As the lake reduced, prevailing southwesterly winds bounced the sand grains to be piled up beneath the San de Cristos or washed back toward the valley floor. Bet those restrooms are cold. Northeasterly storm winds blast through the mountain passes, piling dunes back on themselves and creating North America's tallest dunes. As we leave the picnic area and head back towards the campground, we will be stopping at a few points of interest and lookout points. Well, Zebulon Pike crossed over the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. His journal from January 28, 1807, reads, "After marching some miles, we discovered at the foot of the White Mountains. We were then descending sandy hills. When we encamped, I ascended one of the largest sand hills, and with my glass could discover a large river, the Rio Grande." There are two streams that run through the park, the Medano and Sand Creek. The streams run through the Great Sand Dunes seasonally with the mountain spring runoff. Not always the case, oddly enough. This lack of change is not always the case. There is still some movement of sand around the valley in the form of parabolic dunes. Put simply, these dunes can form when vegetation is removed from the sandy space. When traveling on foot, by horseback, Model A, or the latest model car, the dunes and mountains behind them were all still there, used as landmarks by travelers in and around the San Luis Valley. The oldest evidence of humans in the area dates back to about 11,000 years ago. Perhaps echoing our own experience in driving here, these people probably saw the dunes as a tan blur in the distance 4 miles away, while we saw them in white. The snow is nearly off the sand dunes of Great Sand Dunes National Park. It was a fun day watching the snow, going to the park, seeing the crazy people try and cross that ice-cold river. And now from my campsite, I can watch them melt. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe. And stay crafty when watching the snow melt on the Great Sand Dunes.